Welcome, everybody. Welcome to snowy Vermont. 3 weeks before, about 3 weeks before the new year. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so glad that you took this time for yourself to dive into how to make sustainable changes because you can make sustainable changes. And we're going to go through the science and the art of that. But first, I probably should introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. I am Dr. Deb Kennedy. I am the Director of Culinary Medicine at Rouxbe. I also founded and instruct in the Food Coach Academy, which is a 13-course academy that takes about 6 months to do, and you become a food coach. And then you teach people how to heal themselves one delicious bite at a time. There's nothing better than that. So I want to let you know a couple of announcements. The first announcement is that if you are on Rouxbe's mailing list, you've already gotten an email about the 50% off that was around Thanksgiving time. And I hope you all had a fabulous Thanksgiving. But there's just one more sale. It's going to be 40% off the already reduced 50% of the Food Coach Academy. And that email is it's going to be between the 16th and the 24th. The sale is live between the 16th and the 24th. And you'll find all my information on my website. You'll see a link on Rouxbe for that. If you want to talk to me before becoming a food coach or anything like that, or perhaps you have a community center, you're like, oh my gosh, they should send somebody to become a food coach. Reach out to me. We'll make that happen by the beginning of the year. All right. So I want to introduce you to a little someone. I call her Charlotte. Charlotte is my mini Christmas tree. And I want to show you how to make this mini Christmas tree yourself. But I have to jump into that right now because it has to cool down and then we're going to put it all together later. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to make those discs to be able to build the tree later. Then we're going to watch a video because you're going to learn why it is you're making those choices, even if it feels like there's someone else. You know, when you want to make a choice, but then you make another choice, and you're like, who's making that freaking choice? You'll figure out what that is all about. And then I'm going to go into the science of making a sustainable change. And after that, we'll come back into the kitchen and we'll put together mini Charlottes. That's because my neighbor has a mini tree that I called Charlotte. All right. So I want to show you, we are going to go to the cutting board. And what you see here are a host of things we are going to sprinkle on each of the layers. There's dried fruit. Trader Joe's, I don't work for Trader Joe's, people, but they have all of these things. They have the dried blueberries, the dried raspberries. They have these are little clementines, ginger, and they give out all the nuts, the hazelnut, the pistachio nut, the almonds. Brought to you by Trader Joe's, but not really. Okay, so where we start always is with dark chocolate that has been melted. And you'll see it right here. Nice and smooth. Nothing else was in there. It was in a double boiler. Again, this is the best deal ever. They have a pound bar of dark chocolate. And all I did was put it into smaller pieces and I melted it. And what we are going to do now is we are going to take, and you can really take anything that you have. You could either do like a cookie cutter or something. So right now you'll see I have 4 different sizes of cutouts, right? And what I am going to do, and this is what's going to take us just a little bit, and I'm going to be full of chocolate, so don't mind me. What you want to do is you want to pour enough so that you have a nice layer of chocolate, not too thin so that you can stack them, but not too thick. And even if they are too thick, so what? You get a lot of chocolate in your bite. Doesn't have to be perfect. Cooking doesn't have to be perfect, people. All right. And now we're going to go to the second one. And you can see they go down in sizes. And because it's cold in Vermont, I'm going to stick this in my garage after we do this on my freezer. And they are going to cool down by the end. All right. So I hope you can see that. That is just melted chocolate. And now I want to make layers that are different. So what should the bottom be? All right, let's do a pistachio. I'm gonna sprinkle some pistachios in there. What else do I want? I think some clementines would do well with the pistachio. So this layer is a pistachio clementine, a little bit of sea salt, not much, just a little bit, because when you get that bite, woo, it makes it so good. All right, next layer. What am I gonna do? I am gonna do a hazelnut raspberry layer. So we're gonna sprinkle some hazelnuts in there. And then these dried raspberries, just watch what I do. And it's like it's snowing. It's snowing red on top of my chocolate. Wow, really nice. The next layer, I actually want to do some ginger. And when you serve this up, people can take whatever layer that they want. And let's do some ginger and almond. Oh, that'll be nice. Some ginger and almond. And then on the top, you don't have that much real estate. What I like to do is put maybe one of the dried raspberries on the top, and I'm going to sprinkle some of the dried blueberries. So we just have a fruity layer on the top. Real simple. Now I am going to put this outside in the on top of the freezer. You could stick it in your freezer, your fridge. It doesn't take long to kind of come together. And with that, just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. But what I want you to do in the meantime, and I'm going to switch back to the main camera. What I want you to do in the meantime, while I go over there, which is about 10 seconds, instead of diving into this work, I want us to float into this work. So I want us to start with taking 3 deep breaths. And I know when people tell me to do that in a Zoom meeting, I'm like, what? I don't have time for that. I'm really, really busy. I get that. That's just chatter in your head. I get that. So I want us all to take 3 deep breaths so that we can sink in and listen with our full selves. So let's take 1 deep, and you close your eyes if you can. Hopefully you're not driving. All right. Breathe in and then let it out. Another breath in and let it out. Keep doing that till I get back. All right, now we are ready to watch a video. It's a 5-minute video, and it is going to go into what happens over your lifespan. And you're going to be really surprised. If I was to ask you when you start to develop taste and flavor preferences, you're going to be surprised to hear how early that actually is in your life. All right, Patrick, roll the tape.
In order to gain some insight on your current relationship with food, you need to take a look back. So, we're going to go through a journey with food starting from before you're even born until you're a senior. So, let's take a look at that. Did you know that your journey with food starts really, really young? That your taste buds develop when you are only 12 weeks in utero? And that by 15 weeks, you're actually swallowing. So you're beginning to create taste preferences by the second and third trimester. So what your mom eats, you're going to like. Your mom's a vegetarian, you're going to like the taste of vegetables more. How cool is that? So I like to call this taking a look at the life of Brian. And he is my son. He's my second son. And he was not born the same way as my first son in terms of he's a challenge when it comes to eating. So this book, Beat Sugar Addiction Now for Kids, is something that I wrote in dedication of him. I want you to remember this moment. The next time you are seeking comfort from a chocolate chip cookie or a mochaccino latte, half calf, non-calf, right? So when we're born, the most intimate connection we have with our parent is nourishing at the breast, at the chest, right? This is the moment of bliss. And I believe fully that this is what we're looking for, this incredible moment of nourishment. And we have it when we're young, and it starts to disappear really soon. So while you have control, more control of what your teeny tiny wee one eats, when they are newborns and then they become a toddler, then you get into the whole fight about picky eating if your child's a picky eater. And you have your child at home, so you can pretty much, they can only eat what you provide in the house, right? So you can have more control of what your child eats when they're at home. And then your child gets to preschool or elementary school, and what they didn't know existed, they now know do. So your goldfish, your fruit pouches, your snacked yogurts with the candy on top, and they start coming home and demanding some of that food, and your life gets harder. And you still try really, really well to help your child eat the best that they can. So as our kids start to age, by age 7, 9, they're already dieting. The major thing that they're seeing is these images of others that don't look like them. So this girl on the right is what most girls think they should look like, and if they don't, they are wrong or bad. And it might take the rest of their lives to fix that rift that has happened in their food story. So children as young as 5 years of age are familiar with dieting if their moms actually diet. When you get to age 7, 1 in 4 kids have already started dieting. In elementary school, 40% of girls have tried dieting. This becomes something that lays a foundation for disordered eating. And in your teens and in your early 20s, you are focused on what your peers are eating. So you may have been a vegetarian but now you like pizza because that's what all your friends are eating. And this is a time where you can eat a lot of food, and because many are active, they might not see the consequences of that. And so it's all about fun, right? It's about having fun and doing what your peers are doing. Now, your food story starts to shift when, especially when you are married, when you get pregnant and you're a woman, it's all about the baby. It stops becoming about you and it starts becoming about the baby. So you are most likely going to eat a healthier diet because you're eating for your child, but you also can eat more food. So there's a lot of snacking that happens as well. And then you have the baby, and it could be blissful before you introduce solid foods, and then you have no idea what's going on, right? And you become so stressed as a parent that food and eating and nourishing yourself becomes secondary to your child. Your spouse might have a different way of eating. Your food story is definitely influenced by how your parents brought you up around the kitchen table. Some may be more lenient, some may be more authoritative, and then the fights begin. And like we saw with those that are 7 to 9 years of age, and the whole dieting comes right back to hit us in the face when we are postmenopausal and we see pictures like this, that this is what we're supposed to look like. But that is not how many of us look. But the truth is, we all have different body shapes and sizes. And hopefully by now we've begun to accept ourselves as we are, as these amazing women are showing in this picture.
I was not eating chocolate while you were watching the movie. It didn't happen. So you've learned that taste preferences start in the first trimester, and that when you're born, if you're born with a mom that's a vegetarian and loves vegetables, you're gonna like them more when they're introduced. It doesn't mean you won't learn to like them if your mom didn't eat a lot of vegetables. But I think what you can appreciate, what I want you to get from that video is that By the time you're an adult, there have been so many messages that have been broadcast to you that there might seem like you're not making your own decisions, right? That there's these other factors in your life that are influencing the decisions you want to make. Because I've been practicing for decades and everybody wants to make the healthy decision. They don't want to not make the healthy decision. And so what's really behind that? And so we're going to dig deep into that right now. So I'm going to switch over to a PowerPoint presentation, and we are going to get into that in 1 second. All right. So let's get into how food goals actually work. The most important step, the most important step is really about unlocking your personal food story. And as you saw in the video, it starts very young. And what I'd like to ask you to do, if you're thinking about making a healthful change in the new year, now, knowing that we're in between Thanksgiving and whatever holiday we choose to celebrate this December, you probably got into it one of several ways. One, you're like, you know what? I'm going to do whatever I want. And then January 1st, then I'm going to be quote unquote good, right? I know we've all been there. Or I am going to be so strict by the time the holidays come, you're stressed and you don't ever want to do that again. So let's take this step by step. You didn't get here in one day, you didn't get here in 1 month, you got here over the years. So, what is your unique food palette? Have you ever stopped to think about that? Perhaps you notice you don't really eat a lot of vegetables, but do you notice you also hate the taste of tonic water? That would mean you're a super taster and you taste bitter at a higher degree than other people. And so maybe the one of the reasons you're not eating enough vegetables is because the bitter taste is too adverse for you. And then when you add a little bit of salt to it and you find that it lowers the taste of bitterness, there you are gobbling down your vegetables. So learning what your unique palate is, what tastes, what herbs, what spices bring you back to that time when you were blissful? Because that's the time we're all trying to get back to. And what is your current relationship like with food? Do you have a love hate relationship with food? This is very, very common. I see it all the time in my practice where somebody will come in and they blame not having a good job or getting promoted or having a significant other to the fact that they are heavier than they want to be, and what got them there was food. And so they see food as the enemy. By the time we become in our 20s and 30s and 40s and our bodies aren't doing what we want them to do, we blame food for it and we get in this love hate relationship with food. And I think acknowledging that that might be some of what's going on, and learning how to love food again is really what my goal for all of you is. And how were your eating experiences growing up? Was it a peaceful eating environment for you? Did your dad and mom have different ways of food parenting you? Did the plates go flying and the fists go bumping on the table? That happened in my house. And to this day, sometimes when I sit down to eat, I get a bit anxious. So we bring that with us. Do you have a positive body image? I really hope you do. It's the one body you got, and if you don't love it, oh my goodness, that is such a sad state of affairs. So, my hope for you, if you don't already love yourself in your body, is that you make that a goal in 2025, and you feel supported in your goals. So take some time to dive into some of these questions if they pique your interest. Maybe before you go to bed or when you're getting up in the morning, just kind of chew on them a little bit. So if you followed me, you know the answer to this question. How many food decisions do we make a day? And the reason I always start with this is because I want you to know that the way you are thinking, the way how much you are overwhelmed when it comes to making food decisions is absolutely normal based on the amount of decisions, the number of recommendations you are faced with every day, despite all the other things that you're doing. You make sense. I want you to know that. 220 food decisions a day. This is research that came out of Cornell. So you have a lot of decisions every day to make a healthful choice or an unhealthful choice. And when we look at how many dietary recommendations we're asked to follow in the United States, I actually added that up in 2015, and there were over about 106. Ooh, I gave it away. Over about 160, right? So you're not supposed to just, when it comes to fat, are you supposed to eat less of it? Are you supposed to eat more of a certain kind? Are you supposed to eat a balance? Do you really care about the amount? Or is it about the type, right? And so there's probably about 20 fat recommendations just off the bat. So there's a lot to keep in mind. But I just want you to remember this point in your life. You get here many times every day. Every day you have over 100 opportunities to choose to go in the direction of health or away from health. I am not saying, science does not say that you have to be perfect. Absolutely not. Every extra healthful choice you make is on the road towards health. And I want you to appreciate that you don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to do it 100%. I say this a lot when I'm talking to individuals because a lot of research has come out about plant-based diets being really where we need to be. But then I look at the data and I see that only 5% of Americans are vegetarian and 3% are vegans. And I know the majority of you are not going to stop and become a vegan or vegetarian, nor do you have to become as healthy as you can be. So just remember this point, not perfection. In different times in your life, like when I was struggling with cancer, I made sure like 95, 97% of those choices were to the right towards health. But now that I am healthy, I probably do an 80-20. I mean, we have how many calories do we have? About 200 calories, extra calories a day. We get to play around with. And I want treats in my diet, folks, because it makes my life that much sweeter. So if you know anything about the Food Coach Academy, it's based on modules. So I spent 10 years diving into the literature on how people learned, how they assimilated knowledge, and how they made behavior change. So when you go into a school, you see that kids are learning different subjects at different times, discrete times. But when I tell you to follow a healthful diet, I'm asking you to do these 9 courses all at once. And that's why this information overload causes a lot of us to shut down. We just get really confused, and rightly so. So what I suggest is that you look at each of these modules as opportunities. You get to pick each month which topic you want to work on. Do you want to work on fruit this month because that would be easier for you? Or did your doctor say you needed to eat less, consume less sodium? Maybe you want to start there. The choice is always yours. I did research on this modular behavior change at 2 school districts, one in New Hampshire and one in Connecticut. And just by following one subject area at a time, knowledge, attitude, and behavior improved in both the kids and in the parents. And the BMI in kids actually improved as well. So, this is a research based way of creating sustainable behavioral change. If it takes you more than a month, it takes you more than a month. You are at the realm of this. For each of the topics, there are 4 realms that are really important. So, starting with the facts, how many vegetables do I need to eat? What type? And why do I need to eat them? How much is good if I have if my heart, I have heart disease, or I'm supposed to follow a FODMAP diet. Which ones do I not? So the facts, like why are they so healthy? What are they healthy for? When should I limit them? And then the next area we look into, once you start with that, you get the facts down, you know why you're doing what you're doing. Then you go to the store and you make those selections. I don't care if it's fresh or frozen. Each one is as healthful for you as the other. Whatever is the most helpful, it has to be available to you. So you choose the best that you have. Canned is also okay as long as you don't have like added sauces or added sodium to some of these products. And we'll go over those in a little bit. And then when it comes to cooking, how do you make vegetables that you're going to want to eat? And what do you do with leftover vegetables because you don't want to waste them? And what what is going to make your life easier when it comes to the kitchen and cooking vegetables. You can learn all about that. And then when you sit down to eat, and the reason I had you do those 3 breaths is because I wanted you to get an opportunity to see what it felt like. If before you eat, you can just take 3 deep breaths, you'll remember what you ate instead of leaving the table going, "Oh, my stomach hurts. I think I ate a lot, but I don't even remember taking a bite," because you eat mindlessly. And eating mindfully actually helps a person decrease their weight. Interesting. So now I want to go into all of the 9 topic areas. So for instance, if you are choosing protein at any particular time, really what you want to focus on is less animal sources and more plant-based sources of protein. As Americans, we get enough protein in our diet. It's just where they come from. And I always say, when it comes to protein, it depends on who the protein is hanging out with. If the protein's hanging out with saturated fat, like we find in beef and other types of meats, it's not so healthy for you. But if it's hanging around with fiber and vitamins and minerals, like your legumes, that's a really great source of protein. There's something called the Eat Lancet report, and I have a link for you in the where the questions are later. The Eat Lancet report looked into what is the best diet for you and for the planet. And if climate is something that's near and dear to your heart, I am going to go through right now a list of how much protein is good for both you and for our planet Earth. And this is going to come as a surprise because it's a lot less than I'm sure many of you are eating. When it comes to beef, 3.4 ounces a week, not a day, a week. For poultry, it is seven ounces. For fish, it's also 7 ounces. And for eggs, it's about 1.5 eggs a week. And so when we're looking at that source of protein, you really got to get good at how do you blend plant and animal sources of protein together. And that's what's called the protein flip. The Culinary Institute of America came up with that concept, and you can actually Google it. So if you're going to make a taco one night and you're doing ground beef or turkey or chicken, throw in a couple of cans of black beans. It'll go 3 times. It'll feed 3 times as many people for pennies, and it's full of healthful ingredients. When it comes to fat, liquid is always better than solid because it is full of what's called unsaturated fats, either mono or polyunsaturated fats, and that has been shown to be helpful to our bodies, whereas the solid fats are not. So when you focus on fats, you want to make sure that they are like olive oil, canola oil, limit your amount of butter, and learning how to cook and solid substitute out the solid fats for the liquid fats is an important way of reducing the amount of fat in your diet. I know Ruby has a course where forks over knives where they don't use fat at all. And that's also another option. Just appreciate that omega-3 fatty acids and fat is an essential ingredient in your body and for cellular integrity and all of that. So sticking with the liquids, not the solids. And the recent research over the last like 10 years, especially Walt Willett I actually had a conversation with him before I wrote the textbook to review the fat chapter. And it really is not so much about how much, but the types that you're consuming. Now, when we're looking at whole grains, it's all about, well, I just said it, the whole grain. Most of us eat a lot of processed grain, but not whole grains. And half of our grains should come from whole grains, if not all of it, because that is where the nutrients are and it's where the fiber is. And we are a society that is very deficient in fiber. And that is something that we need to really work on. And you can focus on a variety. I know a lot of people just think of wheat and rice and that's it. There are dozens of varieties of grains. If you go to the Whole Grain Council website, they show you about most of them, how to cook them, what they offer. And I would suggest maybe trying one new grain. How about a freeka? Try freeka or quinoa, one a month for 2025. And it's really important that you learn how to batch cook whole grains because they take longer. And anybody that has a busy schedule, you're not going to want to do that every night, but you can batch cook it once a week and you can have it for the rest of the week. Really important to know. With dairy and alternatives, again, it's about the amount of saturated solid fats that come with the dairy products that make it either helpful or not as helpful. So recommendations say non-fat, low-fat products, milk, yogurt, cheese, or you could choose a plant-based, quote unquote, milk product. And with those, what you need to appreciate is that there's different nutrient compositions in dairy than there are in the plant-based alternatives. So, for instance, kids are not supposed to have any milk before 1 year of age, except if they have like really bad milk allergies. Maybe they can do soy milk, but soy milk is the only milk that is close enough to dairy for our younger children. Um, and so when you're shopping, looking for lower fat products, fortified plant-based products, you want to make sure it has the calcium, the phosphorus, the potassium, the B vitamins, the vitamins A and D in them. That dairy does, because when we look at research that's been out there, like the Mediterranean diet, that does have some dairy in it. And we can't say for sure as scientists whether or not if we got rid of the dairy, would the diet still be as helpful? That's still out there, and people are researching that. So if you want to learn how to substitute, um, if you want to make a good froth on your coffee drink in the morning, we'll look for oat and soy. And so different ones of these plant proteins, they range the amount of protein they have and fat. So some froth better, some are better used in baking. And once you get to know all that, you're able to switch over. With fruit, I do not know why people are not getting enough fruit in their diet, but they certainly aren't. So it's 2 to 3 servings a day, 1.5 to 2 cups, and fresh, frozen, and canned, as long as there's no added sugar in the canned variety. Making sure you get a rainbow of colors to get all those essential phytonutrients. And fruit really is the basis for a really healthy dessert and a delicious snack. And you could see already with what we started to make that, dried fruit, you don't even want to eat a ton of dried fruit because it's higher in sugar. It's a concentrated form of sugar, right? Because the water gets out of the fruit and you're left with a shriveled raisin or what we saw, the clementine here, and that just goes up in the amount of sugar. With vegetables, we're talking 3 to 5 servings a day, people, not your 3 a day that many of us can't even reach. But if you are an adult female, it's 2.5 cups a day, and if you're an adult male, that's 3 cups a day, and a half a cup is a serving of all vegetables except leafy greens. So it really adds up to about 3 to 5 servings, and the only way I see that you can get that is if you have vegetables at every meal, or you substitute. What I do, and I've said this before, is I definitely have vegetables, 2 vegetables for lunch and 2 vegetables for dinner, sometimes 3 for dinner, but I'm going to get a smoothie in there to make sure I get a couple extra doses of vegetables. Cooking techniques to add flavor, like caramelizing it by roasting it, minimizing the bitterness. All of these techniques can help support your change there. When it comes to beverages, they're the number one source of added sugar in our diets. Really switching out these added sugar drinks for flavored drinks. So using herbs and fruit and maybe cucumber slices to flavor your water instead of added sugar is really the way to go. So having enough coffee, tea, water, um, dairy products, those count towards your water allotment for the day. And not a fan of artificial sweeteners. They have not been shown to help you lose weight. And more and more research is coming out about those, and I am definitely not a fan of them. And you just learning how to make these flavorful waters. A lot of times when we think we're hungry, we're actually thirsty. So how many of us are getting our 8 glasses a day around that, right? Um, Not many of us. And if I make a liter of basil lime water in the morning, I'm going to get my water throughout the day. And when it comes to sweets, if you keep it to 6 grams a day, if you're a woman, and 9 grams a day for a male, you could do what I do a lot, which is always have this dippable sauce. Not always, around the holiday times, I always have it out, where you can dip some fruit into the chocolate. You could look at fruits, nuts, and seeds, maybe having a cheese platter. And learning how to bake with less sugar and create fruit-based desserts is really where that's all at. And so that is really how you can focus your months next year in 2025 on one of these topics, and you will be going down the road towards health. Now, for sodium, did you know that we get most of our sodium from processed foods? We do not get it from the salt shaker, even though I have a picture of a salt shaker there. Most of it comes from processed foods, ultra processed foods. So, using flavor culinary techniques is really how to consume less sodium in your diet, because what you're looking for is flavor. And I don't blame you. You're looking for flavor, and you've been trained to like a lot of sugar, salt, and fat. And so when you try and switch over, your body's going, I want sugar, salt, fat. But if you use acids and herbs and spices and umami ingredients and different types of tastes in a dish, you won't miss the salt. I promise you that. All right. So I want to summarize by saying it's your choice what you choose to work on. It's at your pace. It's not a race. It is has taken you a long time to get here, and give yourself the time it's going to take to get to where you want to be. And it might take you some time. And it's okay to fail. We all fail. You cannot succeed without failing. I'm sorry. I'm old enough to say that for real. Right. And it's just a misstep. Right. And you just get back on and you keep going to the right. Right. You keep choosing the right, the healthful stuff, the right, the right, the right. And I want you to really just connect and embrace you. There's one of you, and you're awesome and amazing. And other people see it. And I hope you do too. So, that is how I suggest making sustainable changes, focusing on one thing at a time, using the pace that you have in your life, and really beginning to listen to your inner voice. So, Food Coach Academy, again, it teaches you all about that. And I want to thank you, and I will see you in 2025. But right now, I am going to end this show and switch over to a list of the questions. I really wish I could hear you people. All righty, let's see. Okay. All right, Stacy. What are good realistic goals for someone dealing with common menopause weight gain? What is the lifestyle goal to stick with and or prevent or reverse it? Stacy, you're not reversing menopause. I'm sorry. That's not it's something you go through. I had this question last night, and I looked up a source for you, because the queen of menopause is this physician called Christine Northrup. And she has been working for 30 years in this area. And besides dealing with weight gain, there menopause is about both the physical, the weight gain, the hot flashes, the palpitating heart, as much as it is about your emotions and where you are in your journey in life, like your soul, right? What does this mean? What does this transition mean? And most cultures have a celebration during this transition. We in the States just look at it as this bad, awful thing that's happening to us that we want to get rid of. So I have a link to a book that I really hope that you dig into. When you reach menopause, having the lack of estrogen is going to increase your risk of heart disease. You're going to need to make sure that your bone health is going to decrease if you don't have enough calcium in your diet, and activity that's going to like you need to put weight on your bones in order to keep them healthy and strong. So you're looking at foods that are heart healthy, that are bone healthy, and really it's a plant forward diet that I just went over, and maybe seeing a clinician. Maybe you need to go on some supplements, somebody who's in the functional medicine or a naturopath to help you ease through it if you're having a really hard time. Some people breeze through it and some people really, really suffer. So, depending on where you are in the spectrum, choose the help that you need. So, the lifestyle goal, another one is definitely slowing down, being mindful. The stress is going to cause the hot flashes to come. The more stressful you are, the more hot flashes you're going to get, and it's just going to perpetuate. And not being able to sleep at night because of the hot flashes, and it's just this whole big thing. So I would suggest you start with embracing yourself, and if you can get to a place of, wow, look what I did, and now what am I going to do with the rest of my life? That would be great. All right, Rhonda. Black pepper irritates your stomach, and what could you use instead for soups? Well, black pepper comes from a family called Piper Nigeri, and that's your black pepper, your white pepper, and your green pepper. But pink peppercorns, however, come from a completely different plant, the Brazilian pepper tree. So I would say get yourself some pink peppercorns, roast them a little bit on the stove until you hear them popping, and then grind them yourself. Try the pink pepper because it's from a totally different species of plant. And if that doesn't work, if what you're lacking is that spiciness, try some hot peppers, capsaicin, something that's going to bring that hotness to your plates if that's what you're actually craving. All right, I'm just going to refresh the page. All right. Cecilia, how can I recalculate the serving portions on your recipes as I only need 2 servings, lunch and dinner? There's a lot to unpack there, Cecilia. So I don't exactly know what you're saying, but because I don't give recipes mostly, I do these build a recipes. But if you were to look at a recipe and it says serves 4 people, then you would divide that meal into 4 separate containers, if you will, and then just consume one of them. Um, when you know the appropriate serving sizes for meat and grain, and like the My Plate, get to know My Plate to know what these serving sizes look like, you can be able to eyeball that for yourself as well. Um, I wonder why you only need 2 servings for lunch and dinner because I'm hoping you're not skipping breakfast, the most important meal of the day, Cecilia. So I would focus on that. Yes. Is it true that lemon water helps with bloating or taking a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar with water? Apple cider vinegar and lemon, so now we're into the ancient wisdom here, Tony. Now, and I'm not talking from a scientific basis, and I went on Medline and found all of this, but apple cider vinegar and lemon water have been shown to anecdotally, meaning that it happens in people and they tell me that it happens and it works. But your body, Tony, is the only body that's going to tell you is because I think what you're asking is lemon water going to help with your bloating? Is apple cider vinegar going to help with your bloating? And test it out and see. If it works, great. I really hope it does. All right, now on to Rebecca. I've learned to seek comfort in clothing rather than stress eating. It could be a shawl, but for me, it is my sweatshirt or a thin second shirt, a hug instead of binge eating. Rebecca, thank you for that tip. That sounds amazing. I myself like the cashmere because it feels so like being hugged. But yes, there are days I'm in my sweatshirt, and I love that you're looking at other things that make you feel loved and good, and that you're not looking to food to decrease your stress or make you happy or get rid of your anxiety. We all do it. We do it to different levels. And if it's not working for you because you're doing it too much, then really diving deep into your food stories and maybe getting somebody to help talk it out with you. You don't have to do it yourself. You don't have to struggle that way. Marcia, I need a few suggestions for luncheons in a non-vegan household while I'll be staying as a guest. I do have full use of the kitchen. What is your knock your socks off idea to show family we eat delicious? It's all right for lunches. Um, I would do those Swedish sandwiches, where you just have a piece of toast, and on top of it, you charcuterie board, Marcia, that will blow their minds. And on that charcuterie board, you have these different types of breads or pita or lavash. But then you have to spread, you've got your hummus, your baba ganoush, um, maybe some red pepper, some ground up red pepper. And then you have other different options, olives, nuts, lettuce, pickled onions. Um, I don't know if you are a total vegan. If you're a total vegan, you wouldn't do like the smoked salmon or something like that. But wow them with what that charcuterie board looks like and just tell them to build it themselves. I find when you give people a choice, they tend to like it more than putting something in front of them. They're more resistant to trying something new. Marcia, let me know how that goes. Hi, Dr. Kennedy. Can I use cocoa powder for the chocolate? I'm trying to avoid sugar. Yes. So no. What you want, this is unsweetened chocolate, right, Camila? And you want to make sure that it's just dark chocolate. That's all that. Oh, well, actually, this does have a little bit of sugar. Not, ooh, a little bit. I didn't know that. Get unsweetened dark chocolate. That's what you want to do. The pellets that you can melt. The cocoa powder to create that, that's not going to work for you. You have to be able to melt the chocolate, and that's going to take like a chocolatier to be able to do that. So there are chocolate bars that are just completely dark chocolate. Oh my gosh, people. I thought that was totally sugar free. Anyway, I have to eat less of it. Let me know how that goes. Tony again, what are your views on vegan moms that are pregnant and say the baby is crazy craving meat, so they have to eat it? I heard so many say that they stopped being vegan for their baby. Oh, Tony, I wonder if you've ever been pregnant. I could not get enough tomatoes for one of mine and then orange juice for the other. Uh, I embrace and honor the wisdom of moms. I and of every single person. It's whose ever body it is, and they're making that choice. To answer your question, I think you're asking, you can have a healthful baby on a vegan diet if you know what you're doing and you're getting enough iron and calories and protein, healthful fats. But if you don't know how to do that, if you're a vegan that thinks that pizza with tomato sauce and plant-based cheese is vegan versus a salad with hemp seeds and chickpeas and greens, and all of that. It depends what vegan means to them. Number one, it's not a simple question I can answer. But if they're craving meat and they want to have it, that's their choice to make. So yeah, I haven't heard that one before, but thank you for sharing that. And I think that is it, and it's 2:50. I wish you all happy holidays, full of peace. Oh, there's one more question. Ow! All right, hold on, people. I forgot about my thing in the garage. Recommendations for people with celiac who can't eat most grains. Yes, Mariah. Yes, absolutely. Go to the whole grain stamp, whole grain council. They have so many grains that are gluten free. I'm gluten free. I've got up here, I'm looking up here, I've got some buckwheat groats, I've got some quinoa, I've got some amaranth. And with that, I'm going to run and we got to put Charlotte together. I totally forgot. I'll be right back. Oh my goodness, Charlotte, we forgot about you. My goodness gracious. Alrighty, now I'm going to switch over to this camera and we can see what we have here. So super duper easy. Oops, sorry, that's moving there. All right, hold on. Hopefully that's better. Okay. We just want to pop these out. Sometimes they just slide out. Oh, this one's going to need, because this one had a lot more chocolate in it. Either you just hold it and it warms up and it'll come out, or I just push it down. All right, so we have our 4 layers. I wanted to give mine some height. So what I did in between the layers is I added some of my chocolate dipped orange slices that you've seen me do before. So we need 3 of them. Okay. So we're going to bring over our pot of melted chocolate. Oh my goodness. All right, this is when you know it's live and it's from my kitchen. All right, here we go. What I want to do is I want to put a little bit of chocolate on the bottom layer. This is what's going to make the top layer stick to it, right? But because I want more between the layers, more area between layers, and I didn't have a squatty Charlotte, I actually added one of these in between. And then I'm going to put this on top. See what I'm doing there? All right, and just a little bit of chocolate. You could bring this over. Oh, who's the vegan mom that's visiting her? Do this, vegan mom. Bring this over next to your charcuterie board. That'd be amazing. Actually, I want a bigger piece. I want it to be like that. A little bit more chocolate to add to this. Maybe a little askew. And you know, and each time you make it, you're going to learn something different. I know I did. And all right, and here we go, and there we go. Who wouldn't want to answer the door to this? Blessings to you all. May we all eat well. May we be thankful to those that help get it to us. And I will see you on the other side on 2025.